So what really makes a person noble or worthy? Is it the family you're born into, something you inherit, or is it something you build yourself? You know, your character, your actions. It's a huge question, and it's definitely not a new one. In fact, it was at the very heart of a massive philosophical showdown over 2,000 years ago that pitted a young prodigy against the Buddha himself.
So this was the absolute bedrock belief of the Brahmins, the highest caste in ancient India. They saw themselves as divinely superior, like fundamentally different from everyone else. Their status wasn't just a social thing. To them, it was cosmic. So you can imagine when a new teacher, the Buddha, started to question this whole sacred order, they were not happy, to say the least.
Right, so what do? A group of about 500 of these powerful Brahmin elders decide they need to confront the Buddha. In their minds, this guy was threatening the very fabric of their society. But they knew they couldn't just go and win a debate with him on their own. Nope, they needed a champion.
Enter Ambarayana. I mean, this kid was a prodigy. At just 16 years old, he was an absolute superstar, a master of all the sacred texts, a brilliant debater, and so sharp that even the old guys, his own elders, called him teacher. He was their perfect weapon, the guy they'd send to defend tradition against this radical new teaching.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. Ambarayana didn't want to go. He was reluctant. The ancient text even suggests that deep down, he already had a hunch that the Buddha was onto something profound. He even told the elders, the Buddha holds the true path. But, with the pressure of 500 elders leaning on you, he finally agreed. The stage was set for an epic showdown.
Okay, so let's dive right into the heart of the debate itself. Representing all 500 of his elders, Ambarayana goes to the Buddha to make the case for why nobility is all about your bloodline. And this is where these two completely opposite worldviews collide.
It really boils down to this. On one side, you've got the Brahmin view, worth by birth. Your lineage is your destiny, period. You are what you're born into. But on the other side, you have the Buddhist teaching, worth by action. Your conduct is your destiny. You are what you do.
So, you might expect the Buddha to come out swinging, right? But he doesn't. He's way smarter than that. He starts with this really simple, logical question that immediately pokes a hole in their whole system. Okay, so if caste purity is everything, what happens when people from different castes have kids? It's such a simple question, but for the Brahmins, there's no easy answer.
And just like that, boom, the Buddha totally reframes the entire argument. He says, look, the real foundation of a person isn't their ancestry, it's their ethics. True nobility, he argues, isn't something you inherit, it's something you have to earn.
Okay, so after setting up his main point, the Buddha then just unleashes this series of brilliant analogies from the natural world, and each one is designed to completely dismantle this idea that people are inherently different based on their caste.
And what's so powerful about these is just how much common sense they make, right? The elements don't care about your social status. Fire warms everybody. Water cleans everybody. The sun shines on all of us. Nature, the Buddha is pointing out, is the ultimate equalizer. It just doesn't see these human-made divisions.
Then he makes this really clever pivot. He moves from the natural world to the moral one. He asks Ambarayana to think about karma. Basically, does your high social status give you a get-out-of-jail-free card for being a bad person? The question forces this young genius to think about the ultimate consequences of actions. And this is a huge moment. This is the first big crack in the armor. Ambarayana is an honest guy, so he has to concede the point. He admits that anyone who does evil things, no matter who their parents were, is going to face a miserable fate. You can almost see his whole inherited worldview starting to wobble.
And the Buddha doesn't even let him breathe. He immediately hits him with the flip side of that same question. Okay, so if bad actions lead to a bad outcome for everyone, what about good actions? Does virtue also cut across all caste lines? And once again, what can he say? He has to agree. Anyone who lives a good, virtuous life is going to earn a good rebirth. So, in just two simple questions, the Buddha has made him admit that it's our actions, not our birth, that really shape our ultimate destiny.
All right, this is it. This brings us to the climax of the whole debate. The Buddha has already shown that nature and morality don't care about caste. And now, he delivers the final knockout blow to this idea of pure lineage with a really clever riddle.
He starts with what sounds like a totally random question about animal breeding. It's like, where's he even going with this? But it's actually a brilliant intellectual trap, and he's reeling Ambarayana in with a simple principle from the natural world.
And Ambarayana, he just answers it. Simple. It's a mule. Everybody knows that.
He probably thinks it's some kind of weird trick question, but he has absolutely no clue what's coming next.
And then, checkmate. The Buddha applies the exact same logic to people. He's basically saying, okay, you just told me we have a special name for a horse-donkey mix because they're fundamentally different species. So what's the special name for the child of a Brahmin and a warrior? He's using Ambrayana's own logic right back at him. And silence. The young prodigy is totally speechless. He's caught. He has no answer. If he admits there's no special name, he's admitting the distinction isn't as real as a horse and a donkey. And if he tries to invent a name, he'll just sound ridiculous. The logic is just perfect. The argument is won.
So, with the debate basically over, the Buddha doesn't just, take a victory lap. He offers this final, incredibly profound teaching. He replaces that whole old worldview of social caste with a new one that's based on consciousness itself. And this is the ultimate takeaway.
So what's the big lesson here? The Buddha completely redefines what it even means to be noble. It has nothing to do with your bloodline or your ancestors. True nobility is about the quality of your own mind, right here, right now. It's something you earn, moment by moment, with every choice you make.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. The real source of our destiny, our true caste, if you want to call it that, isn't some external social box we're put in. It's internal. It's our own mind. Good thoughts, good intentions, they lead to good places. Evil thoughts and intentions, they lead to suffering. It's that simple, and it applies to every single one of us.
And the story ends with this just incredible transformation. Ambrayana, the brilliant young defender of the old ways, along with all 500 of the elders who sent him, completely accepts the Buddha's reasoning. They don't just lose the debate. They're genuinely convinced by the sheer power and truth of the idea.
And that's what brings this 2,000-year-old story crashing right into our lives today. Because if the Buddha was right, if our worth is really defined not by what we're born with, but by the choices we make, then the question we all have to ask ourselves is a pretty simple one. With every thought we have and every action we take, what kind of person are we actually building?